Former GOP Senator Ben Sasse diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, calling the stage 4 diagnosis a death sentence. Sasse saying in part, quote, I'm not going down without a fight. One subpart of God's grace is found in the jaw-dropping advances science has made the past few years in immunotherapy and more. Death and dying aren't the same. The process of dying is still something to be loved. Fox News medical contributor Dr. Nicole Saphier joining us now. Dr. Saphier, good morning. Merry Christmas Eve. Tough news coming from Senator Sasse. I was struck by the courage with that beautiful message he put out there. I want to get your take on his diagnosis, and also a key part there that we read is that death and dying are not the same given the medical advances in recent years.
Good morning and Merry Christmas Eve to you, Griff, as well. Very sad news coming out of former Congressman Sasse. I can be honest telling you, reading it, I really enjoyed the way that he put it, he's talking about the science, he's talking about his faith, and he's talking about just the process being very different and talking about his family. It's very humbling. The reality is advanced stage pancreatic cancer still remains one of the most lethal cancers that is. Despite many advancements in detections and treatments, we're still having a 5-year mortality, still in the low teens. About 10% of cases, Griff, of pancreatic cancer are in patients with known genetic mutations like BRCA1 and 2, PALB2, Lynch syndrome, and others. When patients have these known genetic mutations, we try to get them in high-risk screening programs so that we can find these cancers earlier when they're most easier to treat. Now, but the rest of the 90% of the people who get pancreatic cancer, they don't have these mutations. But science has evolved where we are now genetic sequencing the tumor itself. One of the most common mutations in pancreatic cancer is called KRAS, K-R-A-S, that we are developing immunotherapies for. And so when he mentions immunotherapies, this may be one of the possible treatments that has been shown to extend not only the length of life, but also the quality of life while dealing with this advanced stage cancer. Now, Griff, in those 90%, there are some risk factors that people should be looking out for. If you have a first-degree relative, a parent, a sibling, or a child who has pancreatic cancer, that more than doubles your risk of developing pancreatic cancer. Over the age of 60 also is increased risk. Chronic inflammation from chronic pancreatitis, obesity, longstanding type 2 diabetes, these are all risk factors for pancreatic cancer. And one sign that there may be an early pancreatic cancer developing is someone over the age of 50 who all of a sudden develop type 2 diabetes. These are people, you shouldn't be just treating this at home. You need to make sure you are being followed by your doctor, because when you find cancer earlier, when it's easier to treat, that's the best outcome.
Well, our prayers and thoughts certainly go out to the senator and his family. Meanwhile, let me ask you about this. Americans seem to be bracing for a brutal flu season as they warn it's going to get worse. Signs of a super flu variant already showing up. I know, or I presume, we usually track Australia, who has flu season before us, and what they've seen has been bad, and it looks like it could be bad here. 4.6 million total cases so far. What do you make of this flu season, and what do people need to know?
So, Griff, first of all, I hate terms like super flu because all of a sudden it makes people very scared. So let's talk about where we're at in this flu season. First of all, we have flu A circulating right now, and the variant of flu A is H3N2. And there is a subvariant of H3N2, which is actually a new mutation that was first identified over the summer in the UK, is causing about 90% of the cases here in the United States. Now, when you see flu A, especially H3N2, it tends to affect the elderly most severely. And unfortunately, the flu shot this year is not a good match. In fact, in adults, it has about 30% efficacy, which is below what we usually see on average. The good news is it's still over 70% efficacious for kids. But the reason we're seeing an increased hospitalizations and others this year is because the flu shot isn't very good. It affects the elderly even more. And we also the flu circulated a lot earlier this year. We've had colder and wetter weather than preceding years, so people are congregating more indoors. So this is going to be a tough flu season. And as flu A starts to decline, you're going to start seeing cases of flu B on the rise, which tends to affect kids more. So stay healthy as best you can, guys, throughout this flu, COVID, and cold season.
And wash your hands. I learned that a long time ago. That may help. Dr. Nicole Saphier, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, Greg.
All right.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.